After I found out what actually happened to Aaliyah, there was no way I could stay.
Mm-mm. Oh my God.
And then I started doing my research and I started talking to other victims. I should have never signed that non disclosure agreement, but I did. I took the blood oath, and so did my first husband.
Whoa.
And I left.
That's why it ain't never been right since, because you left
Exactly.
it. You don't leave
Exactly.
anything like that.
I did. And he was paid to be my husband so no one would know who I was really involved with.
If you're anything like me and you just finished watching 50 Cent's Diddy documentary on Netflix, something probably stood out right away. Jay-Z was nowhere to be found. Not a single clip. Not one photo. His name wasn't even mentioned. And that wasn't accidental. According to insiders, Netflix allegedly blocked an entire segment from episode 4, a section said to be titled The Jay-Z Tapes. 50 Cent reportedly fought hard to keep it in, but at the very last minute, it was removed. And now I'm about to explain exactly what they didn't want viewers to see. I already know what some people are thinking. How would a random YouTuber know what Netflix cut from a major documentary? That's a fair question. But here's the thing, I've got receipts. I've been following blind items connected to this documentary for months. Long before it dropped, I talked about how 50 Cent had a serious clash with the producers because he wanted too much control. People said I was reaching. Then Gene Deal came out in recent interviews and confirmed that the tension was real. So no, this isn't just random theories. And to make it even clearer, 50 Cent himself posted on Instagram just days ago. The caption read, "Yes, I have the footage. LOL? You can check it for yourself." When 50 says he has footage and laughs about it, that usually means he's sitting on something serious. He was basically signaling that what I'm about to lay out actually exists, Netflix just chose not to show it. And before we get into what was cut, let me ask you this. Did you notice how almost everyone else got attention in that documentary? J-Lo was mentioned. Her story was discussed. Cassie was front and center. But Jay-Z was completely missing. Not even a single photo. That wasn't some random oversight. That was damage control. When someone that powerful gets a full pass while everyone around them is getting put on blast, you have to stop and ask what's really being protected. Something clearly wasn't meant to surface. And trust me, this part gets messy fast. Before we break down what was cut, there's something important you need to understand. I'm not about to run through their entire history or waste time on side stories. I'm sticking strictly to what you came here for. Jay-Z and Diddy weren't just industry acquaintances bumping into each other at events. They were tight. Real tight. And this wasn't just about music collaborations or business handshakes. It went way deeper than that. This is where Gene Deal comes in, Diddy's former bodyguard, who's been speaking very freely lately. He directly shut down the claims made by Jay-Z's lawyer. When Diddy started catching serious legal heat, Jay-Z's legal team rushed out a statement saying they weren't really friends like that. Gene said that was false, plain and simple. Here's what Gene Deal actually said, and you can watch it for yourself.
Wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is, and you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them, but they were so close that they had matching white girls together.
Gene Deal explained that they weren't hanging out playing basketball, baseball, or football. So then you have to ask, why did Diddy get on stage in Atlanta and pat Jay-Z on the backside? And why did Diddy tell the crowd, can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z? That's a very specific level of familiarity. And Jay-Z returned that same energy right back to Diddy. Gene also mentioned that they used to joke about dating the same type of women. He said they'd see each other and say things like, "Yo, how's your skinny white girl doing?" That's not the kind of talk casual associates have. That's the kind of connection where people know each other's deepest business. And that's exactly why Jay-Z appears to be keeping his distance right now. And this is where things start to get very interesting. You probably remember when Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan's show and started talking about Jay-Z and Diddy. That segment disappeared almost instantly. 1 minute it was live, the next minute, it was gone.
How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing to see what's right.
During that appearance, Jaguar Wright was explaining why so many people in the industry are afraid to speak up. Then she started calling out names, not vague hints, not coded language, but actual names. Shortly after that, the entire segment vanished from circulation. When someone has enough influence to make a conversation disappear from a major TV platform, that tells you a lot. That kind of power usually means something big is being protected. And that brings us to what 50 Cent reportedly wanted viewers to see in episode 4. According to multiple claims, the first major reveal centered on allegations involving Jay-Z's private life. And when people say private, they mean extremely private. Jaguar Wright has alleged that Jay-Z has multiple children from past relationships that the public doesn't know about. She claims legal agreements and financial payouts were used to keep those situations out of the spotlight. Jaguar has been in the industry for decades and is known for speaking bluntly. In one clip that circulated online, she said, "I actually have verifiable knowledge of all 15 of Mr. Carter's illegitimate children that he hides from the world." That number alone made a lot of people pause.
Here's a fun little fact. I actually have verifiable knowledge of all 15 of Mr. Carter's illegitimate children that he hides from the world.
These are allegations, not proven facts, but they are claims that sparked serious conversation. According to insiders, 50 Cent wanted to include documentation and testimony connected to these allegations. That's the kind of material Netflix reportedly chose to leave on the cutting room floor. The platform allegedly shut it all down. Too risky, too much potential legal exposure, and honestly, likely too much pressure from Jay-Z's legal team. Think about it for a moment. If someone is simply a successful businessman, why would there be so much secrecy surrounding their personal life? Why would there be repeated efforts to silence certain stories? Those are the exact questions 50 Cent allegedly wanted viewers to start asking. But Netflix made sure that conversation never happened. Now, this next part is uncomfortable, and it should be. Not because it's proven fact, but because of how serious the claims are. Jaguar Wright has consistently framed her statements as allegations and personal opinions. However, she claims 50 Cent had sources willing to speak on camera about troubling practices within the industry. Netflix, according to insiders, refused to touch any of it. Here's what was allegedly planned for episode 4.
Finally gonna have a real conversation about whether or not Rihanna was trafficked to Def Jam.
She was an innocent baby when she came over here. And look
She
at
was
her now.
14 going on 15 years old, flown over without parental supervision in a private plane by a man who was supposed to be a producer who auditioned her at 3 a.m. in the fucking morning in a hotel room, auditioning at 3 a.m. in the morning, a 14-year-old girl.
With no parental consent.
Nobody. She was flown. She was flown to another country. She was taken to Def Jam headquarters. She was left in a conference room alone with Sean Carter for nearly 6 hours alone, with no parental supervision.
Jaguar Wright has publicly claimed that Rihanna's early career involved questionable decision-making by the adults around her. To be clear, these are allegations, not established facts. Rihanna herself has spoken openly in interviews about parts of her early journey. She has shared that she was discovered in Barbados at age 16 by producer Evan Rogers, who helped connect her to the U.S. music industry. Rihanna has confirmed that she flew to the United States at a young age to pursue music opportunities and that she auditioned for Jay-Z shortly after arriving. According to public interviews, some of those early meetings took place late at night. Looking back, that timing has raised concerns among critics. Jaguar Wright alleges that financial agreements were made between industry figures and Rihanna's family. These claims have never been proven, and no official records confirm them. There have also been long-standing rumors online questioning how immigration and work permissions were handled early in Rihanna's career. However, no violations have ever been legally established. What 50 Cent reportedly wanted to highlight was how normalized situations like this were within the industry at the time. Netflix, however, chose to avoid the topic entirely. So how did Rihanna even get there? According to claims made by Jaguar Wright, Rihanna was allegedly listed under someone else's name on a private plane manifest. The allegation suggests that when people have enough money and influence, movement can happen with very little oversight. Again, these are claims, not proven facts, but they are part of what has fueled long-running industry questions. After arriving in the US, Rihanna was brought to Def Jam headquarters. She was placed in a conference room and, according to multiple public accounts, spent hours there late into the night. Reports and interviews suggest she was in the building with Sean Carter, professionally known as Jay-Z, while other adults eventually cleared out. It's important to be clear here, no illegal conduct has been proven, and no charges have ever been filed related to this situation. Rihanna has spoken publicly about how overwhelming that period was. In an older interview, when asked about the biggest change after moving to America, she said, "Being away from my friends and family. After growing up around my mom and all my friends for 17 years, and then moving to a big city with no one, all my family and friends are still in Barbados. So moving to a big city with basically strangers, that was the hardest thing for me to cope with." That word, strangers, is what critics often focus on. People continue to question who was responsible for protecting a teenager navigating a powerful industry largely alone. There's another industry moment that often comes up in these discussions. Around the same time Rihanna was signed, Def Jam had another young artist, Tierra Mari, who was also 16 when she entered the spotlight. She had been signed earlier and was gaining attention. After Rihanna's arrival, Tierra Mari was eventually released from the label. While Rihanna's career rapidly took off, online discussions have speculated about industry favoritism and behind-the-scenes decisions. Tierra Mari has since been linked in public reporting to legal matters involving alleged misconduct from that era. These remain allegations, not confirmed findings. Still, the timing has raised questions many feel were never fully addressed. When you line everything up, a pattern starts to emerge: young artists entering the industry, powerful executives controlling access and opportunity, and careers that seem to depend on silence and compliance. That's what makes these conversations uncomfortable. Another point fans have long noticed is this: Rihanna and Beyoncé have never collaborated, not once. They are both global stars and have been connected to the same industry circles. In a business built on high-profile collaborations, that absence has always raised eyebrows. They rarely appear together publicly, and that gap has fueled years of online speculation. Some rumors suggest unresolved personal or professional tension. These are rumors, not confirmed facts, but they often surface when people discuss power dynamics behind the scenes. Rihanna has spoken about expressing emotions through her art. Her 2016 album ANTI featured cover art showing a young figure with a crown covering her eyes. Many fans interpreted that imagery as symbolic, suggesting themes of vulnerability, control, and not fully seeing what's happening around you. Jaguar Wright has described the imagery as symbolic commentary, though that interpretation remains her opinion. Some listeners have also viewed the album title ANTI as representing resistance or pushing back against past experiences. At the time, most fans focused on the music rather than deeper meanings some believe were embedded in the visuals. According to reports, 50 Cent allegedly planned to explore these interpretations further in Episode 4, including interviews with former label employees and detailed timelines. Netflix ultimately chose not to include that material, citing controversy and legal risk. Another major topic reportedly meant to be addressed was Aaliyah. Her relationship with R. Kelly, which began when she was underage, is now widely acknowledged as inappropriate and harmful. While her parents eventually intervened, many have questioned how much the industry knew and how many chose to look away. Dame Dash, Jay-Z's business partner at the time, has gone on record saying he wanted nothing to do with R. Kelly, stating that people in the industry already knew his reputation. Most kept their distance. Jay-Z did not. He didn't just collaborate once or twice, he released full joint albums with R. Kelly. Not features. Not remixes. Entire projects. That's where many critics start raising eyebrows. At the same time, rumors have circulated for years that Jay-Z showed interest in Aaliyah while she was still connected to R. Kelly. There is no verified proof of this, which is likely why Netflix avoided the subject entirely. What is documented is that Dame Dash later dated Aaliyah when she was an adult. That timeline alone has caused people to question where everyone stood during her earlier years and why certain collaborations continued despite what was widely known. The larger question critics continue to ask is why Jay-Z appeared comfortable working closely with R. Kelly when so many others were not. Some believe it came down to shared access, shared spaces, and shared industry circles. These are opinions, not facts, but they've been repeated often enough to keep the conversation alive. Jaguar Wright has added fuel to that conversation over the years with her own claims. She has said publicly that she was pressured into signing strict non-disclosure agreements to stay quiet about what she witnessed in the industry. She has also claimed her personal life was manipulated to maintain appearances. None of these claims have been proven in court. Jaguar has said that learning more about what happened around Aaliyah ultimately pushed her to speak out. What she means by that has never been fully explained.
Last question. I asked you to do this earlier, but I just want you to do it even more, go detailed. What do you predict will happen next in the future? You know, it's like you see it before it happens.
Kathy White's true killer is going to be unveiled, and it's not a man. And that woman died screaming.
Anything else?
Yeah. Show him the tape, Diddy. You got it.
Oh, man,
That might buy you a little time. You should probably stop looking for plastic surgeons.
man.
Looking for a new life. Jay-Z too. Beyonce too. And we're gonna round up all the Cause see, I love a good gay man. I just can't stand him. And that's what it is.
Would that be?
You wanna know what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
I'm about to up a mirror.
Aaliyah tragically died in a plane crash in 2001. Officially, her death was ruled an accident. Still, speculation has followed for decades. What is known is that Aaliyah was beginning to distance herself from certain industry relationships before her death. That part of the story is documented. Everything else remains disputed, debated, and deeply sensitive. She was growing up, gaining independence, and starting to make her own choices instead of simply playing along with industry expectations. Then, suddenly, she was gone. What 50 Cent reportedly wanted to explore in episode 4 was not about accusing anyone of murder, there is no proof of that. The goal was to highlight a broader pattern, young artists being tightly controlled, discouraged from speaking out, and facing serious pushback when they attempted to step away from powerful systems. According to people close to the production, Netflix shut that entire direction down. Too many legal risks. Too many influential figures who could cause problems. As a result, the material was cut completely. Here's the part that unsettles a lot of people. There are individuals in the entertainment industry who can appear on major TV networks, sit across from well-known journalists, and never be challenged with serious questions. And when someone does push those questions, the footage doesn't always last. That's exactly what people point to with Jaguar Wright's appearance on Piers Morgan's show. She sat down for an interview and openly discussed major industry names, including Jay-Z, Diddy, and Beyoncé. She spoke about alleged exploitation, industry pressure, and other heavy topics. The interview aired, clips circulated online, and then that portion quietly disappeared from official platforms. That kind of removal raises questions about influence and control over public narratives. One name Jaguar Wright mentioned was Kathy White. Many people aren't familiar with her, and some believe that's intentional. Kathy White was rumored to have been personally connected to Jay-Z. According to unverified claims, she was pregnant at the time of her death in 2011. The official cause of death was reported as a brain aneurysm. There is no evidence of wrongdoing, and aneurysms are a known medical condition that can occur suddenly. Still, the lack of detailed public discussion has fueled speculation over the years. What remains clear is that once her name faded from headlines, the conversation largely stopped. There's really no way to properly investigate something like that years later, and that's why critics say it becomes the perfect cover. Jaguar Wright has made serious claims regarding Kathy White, and those claims have kept the discussion alive even as official records remain quiet. Here's where some people believe the situation gets darker. If Diddy truly had footage or information tied to someone close to Jay-Z, that would mean leverage, and leverage changes everything. It could explain why certain relationships never fully break, even when scandals erupt. That is speculation, not proof, but it's how critics connect the dots. And Kathy White isn't the only name that comes up. Over the years, a list of individuals connected to Jay-Z and Beyoncé have been cited by critics, people whose careers stalled suddenly or whose lives ended under unclear circumstances. None of this has been legally tied together, but the perceived pattern is what keeps people talking. One name that consistently resurfaces is Kimberly Thompson, Beyoncé's former drummer. She filed for a restraining order years ago, claiming emotional distress and alleging unusual behavior. Many observers felt her claims sounded extreme, and the courts did not validate them. But here's what often gets left out. Kimberly Thompson wasn't a random person. She trained at Berklee College of Music. She was a respected musician, personally selected by Dr. Terry Lyne Carrington to be part of Beyoncé's all-female band. She had real credentials and a real career. After filing her complaint, Kimberly Thompson alleged that work opportunities disappeared and that she eventually stepped away from the industry entirely. That's the kind of influence critics say this inner circle holds, the power to quietly freeze people out professionally without ever making a public statement. That's why some argue we shouldn't immediately dismiss every voice that sounds unstable. Orlando Brown is often cited as an example. He's been labeled everything from troubled to unreliable. But when he speaks about what he claims to have witnessed in the industry, some believe there may be truth mixed into the chaos. Orlando Brown went viral for talking about Diddy's parties. He described what he claimed was a massive bed in Diddy's backyard, allegedly used during late-night gatherings. That clip is still online if you look for it. He spoke about people being there for hours and mentioned names listeners assumed referred to major industry figures. Those claims were part of the material 50 Cent allegedly wanted included in episode 4. According to insiders, 50 Cent planned to map out the party scene and show how Jay-Z and Diddy moved within the same social circles, not just as business partners, but as people deeply connected behind the scenes. Netflix reportedly backed away quickly, likely due to legal exposure. Gene Deal touched on this in a recent interview. He said many entertainers kept questionable behavior quiet for years, but platforms like YouTube changed that. He also emphasized that these weren't street figures following a code of silence, these were entertainers protecting images and money. According to critics, the fear is what happens when someone speaks up. Careers stall. Doors close. Moments get overshadowed. Some point to Killer Mike's Grammy night as an example. After winning multiple awards, he was briefly detained over a minor issue that many felt could have been handled quietly. Online whispers suggested powerful figures were unhappy with his outspoken views, though no proof has ever surfaced. So why was episode 4 cut so heavily? Why remove content 50 Cent reportedly fought to keep? The answer people keep coming back to is influence. Jay-Z isn't just an artist, he's a major power player with deep connections across entertainment and business. And Netflix chose not to challenge that. When Netflix executives allegedly learned what episode 4 contained, they knew airing the so-called Jay-Z tapes could open the door to non-stop legal chaos, injunction threats, aggressive lawsuits, and pressure from other powerful figures who wouldn't want their names dragged into court. Netflix reportedly decided it simply wasn't worth the risk. Instead of releasing a fully unfiltered documentary, they chose the safer route: tell part of the story, protect the platform, and avoid a legal war they might not survive. And let's be honest, everyone knows who people are hinting at. It's an open secret, but very few are willing to say it out loud because Jay-Z still holds enormous influence in the industry. That's why this segment never saw the light of day. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Netflix was pressured behind the scenes to cut this entire section? Do you believe there's truth to the allegations involving Rihanna, Aaliyah, and Kathy White? Or do you think this is all speculation driven by old grudges and internet rumors? Either way, the conversation isn't going anywhere. Stories like this don't disappear, they just get delayed. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Leave a comment with your take.